All right, good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the World of Warships Experience podcast. Of course, last week we didn't actually have an episode. This is due to me being on vacation, and Bison was actually dealing with some work and WMI stuff, as we talked about on the last episode. We had WMI, the tournament, basically hosted by Gaishu's clan, or, well, the clan Bison's in, basically, yikes. And actually, Bison's going to tell us how that tournament ended out and who actually ended up winning the tournament.
It was a really great tournament. The final ended up being Penta versus Rain. Not a huge surprise given the strength of the teams. And Penta was able to become the champions in a very strong performance. I actually don't think they dropped a game the entire tournament. So congratulations to Penta. And all in all, like I said, I think it was a great tournament. And it seemed like everybody really enjoyed it. Today, we have the first guest for the podcast. He's a person that Malte and I both know very well. He is one of the best players in the game, leaderboard extraordinaire. You guys are probably familiar with him if you watch either Malte or my streams. He is also one of the nicest, if not the nicest, player in WoWs. So let's send a nice, warm welcome to our good friend, John the Ruthless. John, how you doing, buddy?
Well, that was quite the nice introduction you gave me there, Mr. Bison, Mr. Malta. But so I'm a North American player, and I play the video game just like you guys. Me knowing you guys has gone, a long way back. So it's good to be on the show. Good to be on the podcast.
All right, so John, we're going to be asking you a few questions before we move over to some different segments where you're going to help us out, of course, and we're going to talk about different stuff. So I think we should start off with our first question of the day. And how long have you been playing the game?
I've been playing this game way too long, but I think it's about the same period that you and Bison have been playing the game. So I think I'm just over 6 years now. I never got to play in the beta and the alpha version of the game, but pretty much once the game was put out, I got into it. Yeah, that's about it. Been at this game way too long.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing for 6 years also. I don't know how long Bison has been playing for.
Probably around the same. For people that aren't familiar, because it's a bit of old WoW's lore, there was a very small amount of time where Malta, John, and I were all in the same clan, I believe, in Rush B, and then unfortunately the clan died.
That was a really long time ago, actually. That was like 4 years ago, I think, at this point. Like, that was a long time ago.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, and we've definitely hopped some clans ever since, for sure. We've gone through a different variety of clans. But
even servers.
Yeah, servers, everything. Like, yeah, actually. So, John, question. How long did it take you to, like, get somewhat, like, good at the game, you think? Like your first, like, how long? Like,
get
2 years?
Good at the game. I mean, so I started out like any other North American player. You play the American BB line as your first line. I probably wasn't so good back then when I was playing those American BBs. But I think that once I got into that first clan, so the first clan I ever joined was Rush B, as we were talking about. There were a lot of great players there that, taught me what I should be doing in the game and encouraged improvement. So, I mean, for anybody out there that wants to get better at the game, I think the first part is to, meet up with other players. So, get into a clan, join a community or something like that. And there's always going to be people there that are going to be able to help you out and get better at the game. So yeah, probably until I got into that first clan. What was it, like about 2 years then? 1.5 years?
So did you just like apply and join straight away to Rush B, like first clan? Because Rush B was like a Hurricane clan, like so.
Funny story about that. So I believe it was the commanding officer was Red Russian, and one of the co-commanders was Frosty. And they were in a random battle, and I was in Montana, and I think I devstruck the commander, Red, in a game, and then I got an offer to play as a battleship main for the clan shortly after that. So
wow, okay.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a story, but yeah, either way, clans will reach out if if you just play random battles and join a community, and you'll learn some stuff. Who knows? It might lead somewhere.
That's interesting you bring that up, because I remember that you were like a BB main, like in comp and stuff. At what point did you shift away from being a BB main to, like, I guess the classes that you're known for now, which are like cruisers and I guess to a lesser extent like gunboat destroyers?
Yeah, so I think that once I joined 07 actually is where I made a big shift. And even at the start of 07, people were putting me in Battleship, but I realized that Battleship, while, it's a battleship, right? It's like super tanky, it's like big boat, but it doesn't have as much game impact, right? As like a cruiser can have and a DD can have, because of map control and DPM and utility. And so I think I shifted towards kind of that direction during my time in 07. And 07 being one of the top North American clans, obviously the people in the clan were having an impact on the ships that I play, and the play style that I've kind of developed. So I think that when I hit 07, that's about when I changed.
It's funny you bring that up, actually, because since I had like actually a good influence in what John got to play in clan battles as well, because as you know, John, we used to set up clan battles and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
The reason like we kind of wanted them on cruisers, I would say, is because like John's a really good player. He's really strong in whatever he plays. So when you put a really strong player in a battleship, he can do like really good stuff, obviously. But when you have a really strong player, the goal is to put him on, for example, like some harder ships to play, like cruisers. Like I think you played Des Moines a lot, for example, for us. Remember, John? Some of those seasons.
Des Moines, Salem.
And those are relatively like squishy cruisers, especially in the meta, which was 30mm overmatch. So we like to put you in those really hard ships, not to torture you, but because you can handle those ships really easily and you can do really well in even tough situations, right? So that's kind of why the decision was made, for sure.
I think it was a good decision.
So since Adam or Malta left 07 and he was one of the commanders, you have since, John, I guess, taken up that mantle and been recently promoted to one of the commanders of 07. So how has your introduction to clan leadership been, since I believe this is probably the first time you've been like a commander of a clan?
Yeah, this is completely new for me. But back when after Malta left, and we had that last season of clan battles with super ships. I don't remember what season number that was. There was a lacking, I guess, of leadership in 07, so I got promoted up, and I mean it's completely new experience. I'm learning a lot, and I want to do things right. Being a clan leader, obviously, you want to make everybody feel somewhat happy and not unwanted, I guess, in the clan. So you got to factor a lot of things in, and I think that in the upcoming clan battle season, and hopefully this next COTS, will have a good showing. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good. I will say that the time investment is a lot more than oftentimes you'll think. So it's something that I always have to consider on the back of my mind, especially when I want to do other things in the game, or have IRL activities as well. So yeah, takes up a little bit of time. I guess I'll leave it at that.
So I guess we'll move on from the straight up interrogation of John now to talking about the comings and goings of the game in the last couple of weeks since our last episode. The new patch dropped, 11.7, and 11.7 brought a lot of changes. Some well received by the community, some not so well received. So I guess the first one that has a lot of people talking is the new camera changes. Now, personally, I actually quite like it. I like customization. I think perhaps one thing that they missed on it was an option to just keep the default camera. I know a lot of people have complained about that. I think that probably could have been an option. Maybe it'll be introduced in the future, but overall, I like the camera changes. What about you guys? What do you think?
I have to say, I really do like the camera changes, and the fact that they're customizable Honestly, before the camera, everyone did say the camera was like really good and didn't need changing and everything. But really and truly, going from the old camera to the new camera, the fact that I can play, for example, a cruiser, and I can customize my FOV in a way where I can actually see my entire ship, where I can see shells that I'm gonna dodge instead of having to look down every time. The camera before really wasn't that good. I think the only reason people say it was really good, well, obviously because maybe they're comfortable with it, but we've been playing with that camera, only that camera, for the past 7-8 years, right? Bison, ever since the game has been released, right? So obviously you're going to be comfortable with that camera, and if anything changes, it's a bit annoying at first. But in terms of actual performance and gameplay, it's actually significantly better because you can actually dodge shells more effectively and things like that. Obviously, Wargaming should have kept the method where you could remain with the exact same cameras before, but I think talking to them, they said there's no really feasible way of doing that because they changed the whole way the camera actually functions. I'm not actually sure, but that's what they said, I think.
Yeah,
What
and
do you guys?
I think that
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that I think that the camera changes are nice. If you play on a different scaled monitor, though, just for those of you that possibly do, so whether that be ultra wide or wider, I find that the camera acts a little bit differently than on normal resolution, like 16:9. So just something to keep into consideration, and play around with it a little bit in your training room to find something that works.
What are you guys using for your camera settings? Right now I'm 60 FOV and -1 height, which I find quite comfortable. But it seems like a lot of different players are using a lot of different camera settings.
I'm personally using 60 FOV, so similar, and then -7 camera height because I want a lower camera position so I can see the whole ship. What about you, John?
I think that yeah, my field of view I think is actually at 50, and then I think I have my camera height set all the way up to 10. But oftentimes I zoom in a few notches. Again, I think this is a little bit of something to do with me playing on an ultra wide monitor, so it
That was an
it
issue
feels a
actually that
little
came
bit
up recently on the
different.
CC Discord. The fact that ultra-wide monitors are actually completely different, obviously, and maybe the new camera isn't really well suited to them, to be honest. And
I think it zooms it. If I can put a little bit of experience, I think it zooms it out a lot further from your ship on an ultra wide monitor. I think that's the main issue. So I don't know. I mean, again, it's a great camera change improvement. I think that it's good to have the customization, but again, the different monitors, it's gonna be a little bit different with what you pick as your FOV and distance.
Kevin, what do you think? Are you liking the camera so far?
I don't really mind it too much. I mean, my settings, I'm playing on the maximum FOV and maximum height, so I like to see stuff.
Maximum height. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
all the way up.
So as you can see, everyone's running a different camera setup, right?
Yeah.
Because of customization. That's kind of like the nice thing about it, even though it's not the old camera. That's the nice thing about it. There is customization, and every player can kind of suit it to how they kind of want, right?
And
I think that must be what Wargaming was getting at, right?
Yeah, I mean, customization is always good, right? And then also the spotter change is really, really good because personally, I'm quite bad at aiming with the spotter plane. So being able to just extend your range without changing the the angle of the camera was a really, really good change. Although, and this will lead us into the next part, and I think this has been what the community has been talking about more than the actual just camera changes in general, is there were some bugs introduced with the new patch. The first one being the infamous railgun bug. I want to know what you guys think about it. It's not that hard to pull off actually once you figure out how to do it. But in terms of actual effectiveness, people exploiting it and using it in a game, I don't think that it's that big of a deal. It's funny, it's goofy, it definitely needs to get patched out, but it's not game breaking, I don't think.
I'm just gonna talk from personal experience, at least so far. All the examples I've seen of it working properly in a fully functional simulation is a training room at 10 kilometers, everything is parked full broadside, everything goes your way, okay? In a real game, if this is happening, people are moving, turning, dodging, and everything, right? And at longer range, if we're talking 16 kilometers, sure. But let's say you're in a real game and someone uses railgun. I mean, one, it's not like something you can consistently do. I mean, you can, but I don't think it's that exploitable, to be honest. I personally, I've played like at least like 60 games in the past 3 streams. I have not seen a single person in 60 games, one person, by the way, in random battles, use it effectively, or even use, well, I haven't seen him even use it, but I haven't seen a person use it effectively either. And the examples I've seen, all of them are normally in training room. Sure, you get that like one-off where someone just, you know, tries it in randoms and they get one. But it hasn't really been something where, oh my god, the meta's completely changing, you have to use it. It's not like one of those bugs, you know? I don't know.
No, I don't think that it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be game breaking at all. I mean, again, it does need to be patched out, but for most people, coming down to like what people are used to, aiming with a railgun bug is gonna be far harder than just aiming it normally with, you know, point and click shooting. You know, with the arcs and whatnot. I think that you're actually gonna be having substantially worse games if you even just try and use this railgun bug instead of just, you know, aiming normally.
Yeah, and another point that was made was like you can create a macro to do it consistently, right? But the fact is, if you're doing that and you're gonna use a macro to use it, that's like the same as using a mod that tells you exactly where to aim. That's kind of cringe, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously exploiting. Right?
Yeah.
There's a couple other people have raised, like if you press shift and then like you zoom out and then you press shift to zoom in again, it like changes the aim point a little bit. It's definitely an oversight and it's definitely annoying, but I actually haven't had any issues with it because unless you're just not moving your mouse, like you're always going to be re-aiming after you zoom back in. So like again, another thing that needs to be fixed, but not really game breaking for me.
I would agree with you. And I mean, looking at it like from a random battles perspective, I mean, the only ships I think that this really affects is like extreme high DPM ships that have like very fast rate of fire where you might be zooming in and out quickly. So then it might change it a little bit. But again, if as long as you have your hand on the mouse, you can adjust it accordingly. And I don't think that it'll be too big of an issue. It's a little bit of an inconvenience, but again, not game breaking at all.
And I believe when you actually free look, so you hold right click, right, to zoom out to see your ship again, it doesn't actually do that. It's only when you click shift. And normally when you click shift, it means you're not locking your gun. So when you normally re-click shift, I personally always re-aim when I click shift. Like,
yeah,
because it's not locked on like free look, it's an unlocked like shift out, right? So you always try to re-aim.
I'm always using free look, so that's probably why I haven't like noticed the bug or had it negatively affect me or anything. So yeah, I mean,
obviously
as I said, needs to get fixed, but it's not like it hasn't negatively affected my experience thus far. And then the last, I guess, bug that people are talking about with spotter plane, we talked about it before the podcast. I don't think it's actually a bug. Basically, when you're in spotter plane view and you press C to change the angle at what the camera is looking at, it changes the aim point. But I think that's kind of how it's supposed to be, because that's sort of how the spotter plane view worked. Like the spotter plane view did change your aim point. So I'm not sure if it's as much a bug as that's just how the spotter plane works.
It's more like it changes the camera angle, right, of the shot. So I don't know if it's properly a bug or not, but you have to keep in mind every time you click C, it's not like you don't re-aim your shot. So even if it moves it by like it's not that big actually. It's like really minimal. It's like 5 meters.
Yeah.
So when you click C, you always still have to re-aim your shot. It's like when clicking shift, right? You always re-aim your shot. At least I've always done so for the past years, right? When I even press Y to use spotter plane, I always re-aim the shot just in case, because you don't want to just shoot without looking at where you're aiming, right? I don't know.
Of course.
It's just
Yeah,
it's
no,
just
I
something, right?
like to aim my shots too. Yes, I like to
Exactly,
click
right?
where I think they're gonna be.
So, long story short, the bugs, they're there. They should be fixed. But as long as you're, moving your mouse and actually aiming and not just, keeping your mouse still, switching around views, which I don't know who does that. Like, you should be fine and it shouldn't affect your gameplay experience at all. So the next inclusion in the new patch is the return of Puerto Rico. I think it was the first Dockyard ship, right? It caused a bunch of controversy.
It
way
was
back
the
in the
first
day.
Dockyard ship originally, but it wasn't the first ship sold for this type of method. Because before the Dockyard, remember we had the Cossack available, where it was like $1 or $2, and then you grind missions and you can get in. Remember? It
Yeah.
was really old.
Right.
But then they changed that system into, because that was an armory based system. They changed it into the Dockyard, which was a nicer, UI and stuff, and you had a Dockyard and whatever. And the first one ever was Puerto Rico. And there was a lot of drama caused originally.
So much drama.
So much drama. There was turbo drama because
people. I don't interrupt. But I had I swear to God, I remember that there was like a streamer or something who, because if you wanted to get it for free, like you had to play an insane amount if you didn't want to spend any on the boosters, and he like showed calluses on his hands because he was playing so much, and it's like, bruh.
I believe the reason people got really mad though was because Wargaming said, okay, you can grind it for free. Which, even though was true, because I think Kingpin, if you remember him, did it for free. Fragmentation, I remember, did it for free. They did it for free, but obviously they took a lot of time. And, people said, oh, you can, I think Wargaming said you can do it for free. So then people were like, oh, but you have to like ruin your life to get it, which was true. You had to do it basically every day non-stop. It was free, but I think it was very not the right way to put it, saying it was free, right? Obviously.
Please don't physically injure yourself trying to acquire a ship. Like, it's not good.
So I personally spent $40 to get it originally. Did you get it?
Yeah, I did.
How much did you spend?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay, well, I spent $40, so it was around the same price as the Tier 8 Premium. And in terms of grinding, I just played my normal, like, once every 2 days, once every day, just standard, like, 10 battles. And it was pretty easy to do, to be honest, with $40. But now they changed the system, because remember, they did update the Dockyard system, right? Ever since. So now it's a lot easier to get, and it's gonna cost you 7,500 doubloons if you buy the starter pack, which if you do want it, I would recommend buying the starter pack because I believe it is discounted price.
There's two, right? There's the 7,500 one, and then there's a 12,000 one. You can actually buy both. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, you can buy both. I'm gonna log into the game so we can, if you want, we can talk about the Puerto Rico. What do you think?
Yeah. Right. And then if you already have it, like if you already have Puerto Rico and you do you complete the Dockyard, you have a choice at the end to get 33k steel, 35,000 doubloons, or 63,000 research bureau points. You get to choose one of the three. So that's pretty nice, actually. 33k steel is that's a lot.
That's three clan battle seasons, by the way. We're 3 clan battle seasons.
That's a lot. So I would say it's definitely worth it. So talking about the Puerto Rico in general, it's not that good, honestly. I don't know what you guys think about it, but it's not that good.
So Puerto Rico, I did a review actually like 2 days ago about it, so I kind of just discussed it in general and talked about it quite a lot. But it's like, it makes you think like it's in Alaska, right? Because it has like similar guns and similar armor plating, and all the stats are so close to it, but it's actually just worse than Alaska, I think. Well, one tier for tier, but I think Alaska's actually arguably better even at tier 9. Just like a comparison. Even though Puerto Rico has an extra turret, all the stats on the guns, I don't know if you have actually ever taken a look at it, they're all kind of just worse than Alaska. The reload, the range, the dispersion.
It has battleship dispersion, right? Whereas Alaska has battle cruiser dispersion. Yeah, so honestly, I think if they gave a battle cruiser dispersion, would it be broken? Like, I don't
It would
know.
be definitely stronger.
Yeah.
I still think that in the current meta with battle cruisers, since the captain rework, they're a little bit more difficult to play without getting focused down. So
For sure.
I don't think it would be completely broken, but I mean it'd be a nice buff.
So
At the end of the day, it's a tier 10 premium that you can get for, I guess you can get it for free, or you pay a few dubs.
You can't get it for free.
You cannot?
No, you cannot get it for free. You have to pay, like, by force, the 7.5k dubs, like, by force.
Okay. So, 7.5k dubs for a tier 10 premium is
I think that's like $25 or $30. So that's around the same price as Atlanta, right?
Yeah. So pretty good deal. Even if it's not like, the greatest ship in the game. But I would say it's a much better deal if you already have it to get that 33k steel.
Which one would you get, by the way, from these three? I would get the steel personally, because that's 3 clan battles word.
Steel for sure. Steel for sure.
What about you, John? What would you get out of these
the research, because I don't have all the research bureau ships, I might actually get the research bureau points just so that I don't have to do regrinding and stuff. But because I have enough steel already from doing clan battles and stuff like that, so research bureau points are actually probably the hardest thing to get for me.
3 steel camos,
yeah, it's so broken. Yeah, I still have like 2 of those from other tournaments. I haven't put them on a ship yet.
So I actually took a look at the missions, because the last Puerto Rico missions, as we remember, were really difficult. I actually took a look at each mission on stream. They're actually really obtainable, and they're really easy to do. Like, for example, at the last one, which should be the hardest stage, 255,000 commander XP. If you run just boosters on, you can do that pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
2.6 million damage looks really high. But even if you're not like that good of a player and you play Condi, you can average 100k per game at least, right? Like me, for example, I average 230k. John averages like 40k or something. So a mission like this, you could do in around like 12 games, But if you're a normal player who averages like 100,000, you could do it in 26 games, which isn't hard. Plus, you could do like multiple at the same time, Because let's say you're doing well. In 12 games, join top 5 of your team, plus getting the damage, plus getting the commander XP. You get all the 3, and you get the final one as well. So it's really easy to combine and do, and I think it's just an easy grind to do. As long as you just play the game normally, I think. You don't have to overdose on the game or anything to get this Puerto Rico, at least.
Yeah, they definitely improved the Dockyard over the years. It's far better now than it was when the Puerto Rico first came out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of battle cruisers, or large cruisers, however you want to describe them, we had a new battle cruiser introduced for Research Bureau points, a very long-awaited and anticipated ship, the Tier 10 Russian cruiser Sevastopol. Now, I have some pretty strong opinions on this ship. John, unfortunately, doesn't have it yet, so he can't give as much insight as Malta and I can. I've played it a decent amount. My damage numbers in it are actually okay. I think I'm averaging like 130, which for a tier 10 cruiser that has like by far the worst DPM at tier 10 is not that bad. But I don't think that Sevastopol is very good, like at all. It has 6 guns. It has a bad reload. The heal gimmick has a very long duration heal. It lasts like 90 seconds, and you can heal a lot, but it ticks really slowly, and you have a 3-minute cooldown on the heal. And you also have like a smile and speed boost. You can actually go pretty fast, which is nice. But it also has one of the worst armor schemes at tier 10 among cruisers. It basically is covered in 30 millimeter everywhere, has 25 millimeter bow and stern with no icebreaker. Its citadel extends beyond the front and back guns, and it's just not good. Like it's not fun to play either for me. Like I don't enjoy playing it.
I mean, I've played it quite a fair amount as well, and I have to say my average is also 130,000. So funny you mentioned that. So I think we're the same person, but
Yes.
But I actually bought it on my main account because Wargaming doesn't actually give us Research Bureau ships, so we actually have to buy them ourselves. So I actually free XP'd it. I spent like 2 million free XP to get it. But anyway, so to summarize the armor that Bison talked about, we have a 25mm nose, no icebreaker. We have a 30mm deck and side armor. And of course we have our belt, and then we have our 20mm aft. And actually, fun fact, this is the exact same, by the way, exact same armor scheme as Kronstadt at tier 9. And Kronstadt at tier 9 arguably doesn't really, even at tier 9, it doesn't really have a wonderful, like, armor scheme either. Because it still gets smashed by HE, and it still gets overmatched through the nose by some battleships. And Georgia, for example, if you fight against Georgia at tier 9, you get Giga Smash because it goes straight to your 30. And of course at tier 10, because this is a tier 10, not a tier 9, we have way more ships that overmatch 30. For example, Vermont or Kremlin or Yamato or Shiki. And of course Incomparable Thunder. There's a lot of ships that overmatch 30mm. So 30mm armor is really and truly meaningless at tier 10 at this point. Especially against super ships, which this ship is going to fight a lot. And your Citadel, as Bison said, sure, it's underwater, but trust me, it can easily be Citadeled because, well, I've done it to multiple Sevastopols, and I've also been Citadeled myself. So
look at the Citadel deck in the front and back sections of it.
15, yeah.
15, man. So basically, like a Bourgogne, for example, can overmatch your ass or bow, and a shell just hits that 15mm and overmatches it, and you get Citadel. Also, 30mm means you get penned by even light cruisers not running IFHE.
Even Harugumo.
And Harugumo. And Ragnar. And you burn for 60 seconds.
Yeah, that's actually a big issue, which I kind of wanted to talk about a bit. If you want, we can talk about it later, Bison. The 60-second issue on like fires for cruisers, like the big cruisers, because I don't think it's actually a really nice thing to have. I mean, sure, it can be considered a balancing factor, but does this really like properly need 60-second fires to be balanced? Like, really?
No, I mean, I understand why they implemented it. It was because, like, Wargaming, I think, didn't want super cruisers to just be better than, regular heavy or light cruisers. So they wanted to, give some detriment to running them. But with the captain rework, like you could mitigate that before by taking fire prevention and like basics and stuff. But with the captain rework, you can't do that anymore. So the only thing you can do to reduce how long you burn is fire flags, and you can't take fire prevention, so you can be set on fire in 4 spots instead of 3. Maybe changing it to like 45 seconds since they got rid of all the fire skills.
That's what I thought would be. I think Grosby is the only one that hasn't. Yeah, Grosby has 45-second fires, and I think it's not 60 at least. I mean, these aren't battleships. They don't have skills to run anti-fire skills, right?
Right.
And they burn for still quite a fair amount because, like, I mean, Sevastopol has 67,000 HP. That's like almost as much as Bourgogne. So, but has no ability for fire prevention. So, and they have worse armor overall, which is, I mean, the case. So they just get Giga Smash in a real game. And the sad part is, it's not just that, but on this cruiser, even though you have Russian DCPs, quick cooldown, you only have 4 of them. So,
yeah,
you either let the fire tick completely, or you start using your DCPs and you run out super early. So, kind of like if you're fighting against like light cruisers like a Worcester or something, it's really difficult to actually like do anything. If the Worcester plays well, of course.
I know that you can't really talk about it, John, since you don't have it or anything, but is this a ship that you're excited to get? Like, are you like, oh yeah, I can't wait to grind the Research Bureau points for Sevastopol, or are you skipping this one?
So, I mean, from what I've seen from what other streamers have been playing of this ship, including both you, Malta, and some other streamers that have played it on stream, it doesn't look to be all that appealing to me. I'd probably go for one of the more fun tier 9s that I haven't picked up, like maybe Paulo Emilio. I've never gotten to play that ship. It looks like a lot of fun. You get like double strikes and stuff and get to run at battleships. So I think that I'd be going for a more fun ship than picking up Sevastopol, at least this time around. We'll see if Wargaming makes any changes to battle cruisers in terms of fire duration and armor layouts in the future. But for now, I think I'd probably not pick it up just yet with my points. if I had points.
Honestly, if you want like a research bureau ship and you want a ship like Sevastopol, aren't you just better off getting Siegfried? I mean, it's cheaper.
I think
so I thought about it. Like, I seriously thought about this, by the way. Like, why would you get Sevastopol over Siegfried? Because Siegfried has better side armor. It has 90mm side armor. It has better nose armor. It has a 27mm nose. It has torps. It has more range because it has spotter plane and better range stock. It has, I think, very similar guns. I think the shell travel time is actually slower on Siegfried, but it's not that much slower. It's still workable.
It doesn't have the improved pen angles, which is definitely a factor for Sevastopol. I think it has Petro ricochet angles, which is nice. But yeah, everything you just said, yeah, I think honestly, maybe not even tier for tier. Maybe just straight up Siegfried is better.
I mean, it's a tier 9. You have a normal DCP, so you never run out, right? And the heal, I mean, I really think a normal heal is better, to be honest.
I think so. I would agree because 3 minute down, well, 2 minute whatever downtime is just too long. Like you can die in a minute in this game, if not less than a minute. So having that heal not available for that long of a duration of time, if something shows up, then you just die.
It's not just about like dying even. It's just like, let's say you just heal straight away, right? 90 seconds.
Yeah.
You want to make a play, but you can't, because if you make a play, you'll guarantee die, and you have to wait 3 minutes to make a play, and in 3 minutes, the game could already be over in WoWs, because like, some of the games just end instantly, you know, sometimes.
Yeah.
There's basically like, it kind of sucks because it's a ship that you could potentially not take Superintendent on, because the amount of games you're actually going to use all 4 heals is like basically never. But you kind of need to take it for the extra DCP because it's the Russian limited DCP.
Oh yeah, because you have 3 DCPs. Yeah, you're right.
So it kind of sucks from that aspect. Another funny thing about Sevastopol versus Siegfried overmatches Sevastopol, but not vice versa.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
So kind of weird, champ.
And keep in mind, Siegfried is a tier 9, by the way. It's not.
Yes.
And it's cheaper, like by 10k, like research bureau points, I think.
I think it also has improved economy because it's tier 9,
yes.
I believe, over Sevastopol.
I was just a premium ship.
That, yeah, it's an actual premium, not just a special ship. So yeah, it's a nice credit earner as well.
Of course, one thing that two things Sevastopol has really good over Siegfried is the top speed and the concealment. The concealment is actually really good on Sevastopol, 11 kilometer.
Yeah.
That's, I mean,
that is pretty good actually.
And
weird that
you don't get radar. So.
It's weird that these like large cruisers, thinking Napoli, now Sevastopol, Gudin, all have like insane stealth. Like
we're not even gonna touch Incomp.
well,
it's a battleship, so it doesn't count, you know.
Yeah, it is. We don't talk about Incomp, man. That's
so. I think we've talked about Sevastopol quite a fair amount. I think we should move over to another ship which Wargaming have added this patch, which is publicly available, of course. It's the Huron. It's tier 7. It's available in the Dockyard. Actually, this one is actually available for free. It's in stage 25 if my Dockyard would load. So it's available for free at stage 25 of the Dockyard. And it is for free because you can get up to level 33 for free. And then anything over, you do have to actually pay the 7.5k dubs for. But the Huron is available for free at stage 25. I know Bison and John haven't really touched this thing at all. But I've kind of played it quite a fair amount now. In testing and just like on live now. And I have to say this thing is actually really strong for tier 7. There was a argument being made on my stream the other day where free ships Wargaming release are never good, you know, like, but last time we had Repulse for free, which is arguably one of the strongest tier 6 battleships in the game. And now we have what? Sorry?
Repulse is insane.
Yeah, Repulse is really good. It has overmatch, right? Like Warspite guns, it has 6 of them. And it has, I think, 37 knot speed or 39 knot speed. It's like a Georgia, basically, at tier 6. So it's very strong and it's free. Well, it was free. In this case, we have the Huron. This one is, of course, new. I really like the look of it. The camo is very well done. But forget the camo for a second. And let's take a look at the equipment we have. We have a heal, hydro, and speed boost. Obviously, it looks like a Haida because it's the same class of Destroyer. But you've got some main differences. For example, the concealment is worse on this, and you don't have a smoke. Haida has the fuel smoke, or not really fuel smoke. I don't know what they call it, actually. Crawling smoke, that's the word for it. Yeah. So you do have the heal, so Haida doesn't have a heal. The nice thing about it is the actual reload of the Destroyer, because Haida, as we know, has a 4.8 second reload with the build. With this build, it's actually 3.7, and you can get it down even more if you run the main battery and a specialist, which doesn't really fit on the build, but you could get it down even more. And this is tier 7, so it's honestly a really good, from playing it so far, it's a really good gunboat open water for tier 7. It reminds me of Orkan, but it's actually a bit stronger than Orkan tier for tier, because it's tier 7, so I really like this one. And if you are grinding the Puerto Rico thing, and you maybe aren't excited about the Huron, I would actually be quite excited about this thing, because it is pretty strong tier for tier 7. It's I think it's pretty nice to have.
Yeah, I haven't played it because I play like 95% tier 10, and then I never really go below tier 8. But from everything you just said and the stats and everything, like, I mean, a heal on a tier 7 DD and 3.7 second reload, I think you said, like, that's pretty nuts. So seems pretty good.
The thing is, 3.7 second reload, but the alpha is lower on the Huron. So the DPM at stock value is actually the same as Haida, I believe, until you actually buff it with the Fearless Brawler. Then it actually ends up being more DPM than Haida. Because of
how is the conceal? Because Haida conceal is insane for tier 7.
Haida conceal is 5.8, I think. This one is 6.2. So it is worse, yes. But it's by 0.4. I think that's pretty much completely workable in a real game, especially since you have the heal.
Yeah, I mean,
you're also a gunboat, right? So
yeah,
you'll be shooting.
You'll be shooting the entire time.
Further distances.
And tier 7 destroyers, with the exception of Haida, which is turbo broken, like, all have really bad stealth. So 6.2 is actually pretty good for tier 7.
Yeah, I think most of them have really bad concealment actually at tier 7. Maybe Shiratsuyu actually has pretty decent concealment as well.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they're all
tier 8 slot.
Mahan is like 6.7, I think. So
yeah. I think Shiratsuyu, the Torp DD, is like 6.6. Ridiculous.
Yeah,
Shira is 5.8.
Yeah. Shira is 5.8 and Akatsuki is 6.6, I think.
So bad, man. Okay. Well, I guess the last thing before we move on to the dev blog, perhaps my favorite change or addition in the latest patch is the new sounds when you click stuff in port. It sounds so satisfying. It's a little chunky sound when you click on buttons. I really like it. Super small thing, but I like it.
I don't know if we can showcase it. I don't know if people can hear it.
They probably notice it by now, but yeah. Just a nice little satisfying chunk when you click on it.
I like it. There's been some people who really hate it, on my stream chat. Danilo, for example, he hates it. But I personally, for me, actually, I really like the satisfying click noises. It's better than like nothing, you know?
We love clicky sounds.
That being said, though, there should be a way for, to satisfy these people who do hate it, for you to be able to like turn off UI sounds or something, because some of the people really hate these sounds. So there should be a way maybe added in the future where, someone like a random player could just turn it off as they wish.
So moving on. Oh, go on.
There's a lot of sliders in the audio area. They could just add one like UI sounds and you just drag it down or whatever.
True. So moving on to the recent dev blogs. There is a new tier 10 Dutch destroyer announced. The Tromp. Just Tromp. And I looked at this on stream the other day, and I looked at all the stats, and I have to say, I do not remember seeing a ship like announced that looks this bad. This might be, just based on the stats, the worst ship I have ever seen at tier 10. And I'm not being like,
I think you're being correct, because we actually all three of us rechecked the stats because we were like, no way. Like right before the podcast, we talked about this. Like, what is this? Like, actually, like, what is this? Like, it has 6 150mm guns with a 8-second reload, you said, right? 8-second reload. It doesn't get improved penetration like Ragnar or Harugumo, so it gets 25, which is kind of useless, except against like light cruisers like Worcester or something. Its speed, I think it's the slowest destroyer in the game right now. 33.5 knots. Is there
Sherman is the only one I think that's
doesn't have speed boost, but Stalk, I think it's faster than 33.5, right?
I can check real quick.
Okay, so this is slower than Sherman, but Sherman doesn't get speed boost, right? So I guess this gets a speed boost, which kind of makes up for it. But I mean, Sherman gets incredible firepower, no? So
and smoke,
yes,
and smoke. This has 2 consumables. And Hydro, yeah, 5 km Hydro and DFA. This gets 2 consumables, DCP, which isn't really a consumable, and engine boost.
Oh, can we also? I just noticed this actually. The turret traverse is 18 seconds.
Isn't that Kleber or something? That's really bad, no?
That's really bad. And you're taking a reload mod, so it's going to be worse. It's going to be over 20 seconds, I think. So, yeah, that's like Kleber, which is really bad.
One of the worst, I think, on like paper ships I've ever seen in a dev blog. Like, I don't know if it's the worst, but it's definitely one of the worst I think we've ever seen.
So, yeah, so you might be wondering why is it so bad? Like, why are they releasing a ship that's on paper so bad? Why is it giving up like literally everything? Because it only has 2 consumables, DCP, which is not even a consumable, I don't know, an engine boost. I don't think it's like is it an improved engine boost?
It just says engine boost. Normally they say when it's an improved engine boost.
So just like a regular 8% engine boost. So yeah, like why is the ship gimped in so many areas? It gets bombs.
Oh my god, it gets bombs, guys. All right, so it gets 40-second cooldown bombs, which I think are actually quicker reload than Good and Lu. Their range
much
is
faster.
8 kilometers, so you have to be in someone's like forehead to actually drop them. It's like you know, like playing cruisers with their airstrike against submarines, 8 kilometer. That's exactly like the range you're dealing with, 8 kilometer. And well, I don't really know these statistics. I mean, bomb pen is actually incorrect, I believe here. It's supposed to be 38 or 37, just like the actual Good and Lu bombs. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. I believe so.
What? Oh, that makes a big difference, actually. Then
I don't think it's 20.05. That's just I think that's really bad.
Well, that's why it was kind of a joke that like even the bomb strike is really bad on this ship. But if they make it the same as the Guden bombs, then maybe. I mean, I was watching Bison stream today, and Guden bombs they can hurt if they hit.
I mean, yeah, you definitely have to hit them, and it is a skill to have, I guess, in a way. But the nice thing about Guden is the fact is, if you don't, like, you can aim the bombers in a way, let's say you miss a strike, you can torture someone because you make them go broadside to you or something. If they go broadside to you in a Tromp, what happens? Like, 8-second reload, 150mm guns. These aren't even Elbing guns, I think. They're just normal 150s. Like, nothing too special. So, I think this is definitely going to get changed. This is, I mean, early stage stuff, right? Definitely work in progress, subject to change. But definitely looks really, really bad on paper currently.
Yeah, like it has to get buffed because, like, as of now, it looks like legit one of the worst ships I've ever seen. Like,
if the bomb pen is actually 20.5, then that's very, very poor. If that's a mistake and they buff it to the same as Guden, I'd say it's still a very weak DD, but better. A little bit better.
Yeah, if it gives buff, this is better for sure.
Kevin, can you confirm? Can you confirm, Kevin, if it's actually 20.5 or or 37 or whatever.
All right, so we did actually do some fact analysis. Kevin did do some research for us. It is the bomb pen is actually 20.5 right now, and it's not changing. So it's not a typo. It is actually 20.5 millimeter pen, which I think only pens superstructures and destroyers, maybe. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Light cruisers, hyper light cruisers as well.
Oh yeah, like cold bears and stuff. Yeah, not even like Woosters, just cold bears. But yeah, so that looks pretty bad. Was there anything else we had to research? No, right?
The concealment.
No.
Oh yeah, the concealment. How much was it? Full calculation? 5.9?
5.9. Yeah.
That's, I mean, it's okay, I guess. 5.9 for a destroyer with 27,000 HP or something like that. That's okay, but it doesn't really have any firepower, so I don't know.
I don't know why it doesn't get a heal. Like, I feel like destroyers that don't have smoke either need a heal or like French saturation, like the French DDs. So like the survivability is going to be terrible, and you can't like win a gunfight against literally anything. So
it might have armor. We just don't know about it yet because we just get the stock value. So we don't know if it actually has like Elbing style armor or anything. So this was a cruiser in real life, I believe. By the way, it will be a tier 4 cruiser if it was a cruiser in game. But I think we should move over to another selection of ships, Bison and John and Kevin.
Yes.
Called the Japanese light cruiser line, finally announced and shown to us. Of course, we're all light cruiser players. We all love light cruisers, right? In this room. So let's take a look. Let's maybe not take a look at the lower tiers because that would extend the program maybe 2 hours long. So let's not do that. Let's look at
the higher tier ones.
Yeah, maybe the
8,
tier
9, 10.
10. Maybe we can just look at the tier 10.
Tier 10.
So the tier 10 Japanese light cruiser will be called Yodo, like Star Wars, of course. So here it is.
I don't like the name. I don't like the name at all.
Yodo, it does not sound really
It's a
appetizing.
river. It's supposed to be like Japanese. Yeah, it's
I
a
prefer
river
Zao
in
as
one
a
of the
name.
Japanese islands. Zao is pretty nice though.
I do prefer
I like
Zao.
I like the 9 Takahashi. I like that name.
It's
Shimanto tier 8 is nice. Yodo is just weird. I don't know.
Takahashi, that's kind of like a big dick like cruiser, I think. Shimanto.
Yeah.
Omono. Gokase.
So like the gimmick with these ships is kind of different from most light cruisers, which are high DPM. This ship has a shitload of guns, 18 150s, but the reload is actually really bad. The reload, I'm pulling up the stats right now.
14 seconds on the
14
reload.
14 seconds. Fire chance is 11, which isn't super high. The gun velocity is really high, and I think Wargaming said that it's sort of like Russian arcs, so it's going to have good ballistics. It also has like really good stock range, 18 kilometers. Has more HP than Zao, which is interesting, being a light cruiser. It has 55k HP stock, which is more than Zao gets with SE. And the torpedoes are kind of interesting to me. At first I thought they were really good, but upon looking at them more, I'm not quite sure. You get 4 4x4s, so 16 total. They do almost 24,000 damage, so like Shima torpedoes. But they're really, and they have 15 kilometer range, but they're really slow, 57 knots, and they have pretty bad detectability for torpedoes that are that slow, 1.7 kilometers.
I mean, I heard, I don't know if it's true. Are they like turning torps like the British torps? That's what I heard.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
but they are. So that's actually probably going to give it better torp angles than Zao, though.
It will 100% have better torp
apparently
angles.
Apparently they have really good torp angles. So
okay, kind of sad to see, to be honest, from Zao, because obviously Zao has really bad torp angles and it has not really good armor. In 2022 it has 30mm armor and it doesn't have a lot of range and it has less HP than a light cruiser, so it's kind of weird champ, to be honest, at this point.
But I mean, Zao is still in testing. They could change some statistics,
Of course.
What this ship looks like to me, the Yodo, like what it reminds me of is it looks like a Venezia with no alpha and like fire chance. So like a Venezia that loses out on alpha but gets the chance to start fires, which I don't know is a particularly good trade-off.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of Atago, honestly. So I think that getting all your turrets to bear is going to be also kind of an issue. It's going to be similar with Zhao, I think, in terms of being able to use all of the guns. So there's that as well. Also,
Atago
fun
pen
fact.
stuff, though. Atago pen stuff.
Actually, though,
so
I think apparently this is a typo. So 25mm pen here is actually a typo.
That's a typo. It's 30.
So it's 30, and you're not gonna need to take IFHE because if you play like Worcester, for example, I don't take IFHE on Worcester or Nevsky, for example. It should be enough, I think, to fight most things like cruisers and stuff. And you're gonna have to rely on your fires to do damage to battleships and superstructure damage. Is the alpha actually quite okay? 2.5k HE alpha? Is that okay, I guess?
Let me compare with her. Harugumo gets 1,200, so it's like twice that of Harugumo.
Des Moines is 2,800, so it's actually
That's not bad. It's not bad.
For 150, it's pretty good HE alpha. The issue is you don't pen 32, so
no,
you know. You
can always pen 32 for the reduction of 6% fire chance.
You lose your fire chance. You have like a 1%
probably
fire
not
chance.
really work.
But that's Yodo.
Interesting about Yodo and these ones. These are the only light cruisers I think that get secondary armament. Most of them just have their main guns, and that's it. But
you're right.
At tier
10.
Secondary spec Yodo.
Yeah, secondary spec Yodo is gonna be broken, guy.
Wait, okay, so it has the 100mm secondaries. It doesn't say on the dev blog whether or not they get 30mm pen.
I mean, we're not
don't
actually gonna secondary spec. It doesn't actually matter.
I know.
It looks like it's exact Harugumo copy though, like 1,000 meters per second, 6% fire. Higher shell damage though.
Well, another ship. I think we should skip the rest. I think. There's like a tier 7. There's a tier.
We only care about the high tier.
The Schroder.
The Schroder. I mean, real quick, I wanted to say about it is, well, first off, it has like no HP. 59,000 for a like battle cruiser type thing is really bad. It only has 8 guns. I don't know what the deal is with adding like so many of these. To me, essentially, like the same ships, like tier 8, 9, 10 German battle cruisers. Like we have so many of them already. Like
I think it's because people keep buying them. I think. I think it's people keep buying them. So Wargaming's like, okay, why not? You know, it reminds me of. So it's 305s, right? And 8 of them.
Yeah.
So Aegir has 9 305s.
Yes.
And Siegfried has 6 380s.
With cruiser dispersion.
And Mecklenburg has 16 305s. That's double, by the way. Okay, it's a tier higher, but I mean, it has better armor, probably. Yeah, it does, because it's 27. And this thing looks... I think this thing looks hideous, by the way, in terms of the looks. I don't know what I'm trying to compare it to.
Turrets are so tiny compared to the ship.
I don't want to be rude, but the color reminds me of like a bad brown, you know? Thoughts?
Poop?
Poop brown, yeah. That's what I was gonna say for sure. Just didn't want to be the one.
It gets a 15% speed boost. Like,
yeah,
I guess
true.
That's gimmick.
180-second duration, by the way.
That's like its gimmick. Yeah, Patry gets that though, and Patry is
she gets that. Okay.
Yeah,
but Patry's a super ship, not a tier 9. So
yeah.
All right, let's talk about. I think we should skip the Sekiryu unless you want to talk about it because you're a carrier player.
I mean, it's a Japanese super carrier. Like, it gets
But the super squadrons are literally the stock squadrons, by the way, because I checked.
I thought that they move like way slower than the
No,
stock
they're
ones,
faster
like,
because they get the super plane buff. They're jets.
Oh.
But
Which
they're the exact same drops as the normal one.
yeah,
So,
which is good in my
Yeah,
opinion, like a
it's
game
good.
balance perspective, because you don't have like the 40k nuke that the USS Sus has. But at the same time, it's like, why would you why would you give the USS Sus the 40k nuke, and then you introduce the Japanese carrier, which like their thing is torpedoes, and then the torpedo tac squad is like not good. It's kind of weird.
It's not good, but it's the exact same. Like, it's the exact same squad, I think. I'm pretty sure, yeah. 9.3k damage, 50 knots, 60 km range. It's the exact same torpedo. And I believe it's also the super squad, I think it's rockets as well, so... And I heard it's the same rockets, I think. No, nothing. They're American rockets instead of Japanese rockets, I think.
They only pen 30, so it's like they don't do anything to battleships.
Okay.
It gets AP bombs. I mean, it's
Hakuryu, like at tier 11.
it's like a super hack, so it's gonna be really broken. I mean, even if the tax
hack's already really good, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one more ship we want to talk about definitely today
is Ushakov.
Admiral Ushakov, which is the tier 11 super battleship for the Russian line. So upon initial inspection of it, if you take a look, you're like, okay, it has 9 457s with 21 kilometer gun range with 14.5 alpha and 33-second reload. So you're like, okay, it looks like Kremlin, right? Well,
yes.
Upon initial inspection, it looks pretty much exactly the same as Kremlin, except how much HP does it have, Bison? You want to share?
135,000 HP.
135,000 HP. I think that's 9k more than Hanover. And Hanover already like has giga HP.
Yeah, Hanover is 126.
Yeah.
Wait, I just thought of if you put Kuznetsov on this, you proc him at a low 13,000.
13,000 HP, and the Kuznetsov heal might actually be giga huge, plus the normal heal. Like the combination of both might be huge.
You get like a crazy super heal.
How do you die, by the way?
You get burned down in 2 seconds because you're a battleship.
You're a battleship. Alright, so what is the F key? Because this actually, as Patry doesn't have an F key. We know Clausewitz doesn't have an F key. Dalarna, I don't think, has an F key either. But
no.
We're reintroducing the F key. It's coming back in the form of the Admiral Ushakov. And what is the actual buff here, Bison?
It's the best one. It's my favorite one. It's the Satsuma one, but you also get range on it too. So, because the range isn't that good, 21.3 stock. So it buffs your range 10% and your dispersion minus 30%. So you're gonna have a funny Kremlin with super Deadeye.
It's funny.
Yeah. What?
The buff to the range actually also buffs the dispersion indirectly.
Ooh,
so you have an extra buff in dispersion. But you know what I'm not understanding here? Required shots number 9. It says 9 shots. Does that mean you need 9 whole salvos?
Let's see what it says for the other super BBs.
Also, before you do, well, you can keep doing that, but
Hanover is 12 shots.
Oh, wait, what?
And Satsuma is 12 shots.
But you require like 4 salvos in Satsuma, so I don't get why it says 12 shots.
That's 3 salvos, I guess?
No, but Hanover's 3 salvos, I think. So that's weird.
I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works.
We'll just have to wait and see in a proper game, I guess. But, I mean, honestly, the Sting looks pretty good. I remember original release Kremlin. And honestly, the shells, I mean, they don't really tell you much here. Because Kremlin had really good shells upon release, and of course they nerfed them. These could be like original Kremlin AP shells. I'm not sure if you remember it, Bison.
Yeah.
I played Kremlin like 300 games, like, when it came out. Like, actually, I haven't played it much since because they nerfed it, but... The original Kremlin, The guns were kind of incredible. Like they're still not bad now, but they were incredible like upon release. So maybe these actually have Kremlin guns, original ones.
A couple other interesting things about it is the secondary armament has 32 Smolensk guns.
Secondary spec Russian BBs. I mean,
Like
32. Are you sure?
8x4, yeah.
You're gonna have the. You're only gonna
8x4. Oh, I see them. Okay, they're behind turret number 2.
You're only gonna get like maybe half of them on each side, though.
No. You'll get 3/4 of them. You'll get
3/4. I don't know
That's
how many
broken,
that is. Well, it depends on the range, right? So 7.3. I don't think that's crazy. But remember, so this thing has a button, an F key. And even though Hanover has an F key, the way I play Hanover is main gun spec, right? So even though it has an F key, really my Hanover doesn't have an F key, right? Mm-hmm. And it's still fine. So this with an F key might actually be like giga crazy, actually. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, at least it doesn't overmatch 32. Like,
yeah,
I'm glad. Right. I'm glad that they didn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm also glad they didn't give it 12 guns. Another thing, I know people meme on like AA, and like, yeah, I get it. Especially if the AA gets destroyed in like one salvo, like Kremlin AA. But just the raw numbers of the AA looks like, honestly, like some of the best AA in the game.
Well, release Kremlin AA was really strong, but the issue was they nerfed it the HP wise, right?
It explodes, yeah.
Yeah, it goes instantly. And Slava, I believe, still has pretty good AA, and it doesn't explode instantly, so it's actually workable. And this, I mean, is probably going to have better values than Slava, I think.
Like, to put it into perspective, right? It has 343 continuous DPS on the long range at 6 kilometers. The Edgar, which is, super minnow on its long range, which, granted, goes to 6.9, so it's a kilometer longer, is only 162. So, like, it's got like double the long range AA of Edgar, and it has 466 mid range, which is really good, and 221 short range, whatever. But it has like really, really good AA for a battleship. Like, John, you're as a HE spam ship enjoyer. How do you kill this thing? 135k HP. If they're running fire prevention, how do you kill this thing?
You're gonna need to kite the hell off the map, and he's gonna run you into the border. So, I mean, if he's playing with his team, and he's playing it smart, he's not gonna die. And he can. I guarantee you, the armor belt on this thing is gonna be comparable to current Kremlin, if not better. Which means he can probably get away with a broadside turn. So even if you catch him in a bad spot, he can just game return out of there, and you're not gonna see him again. So yeah, the thing might be a little bit of a interesting to burn down. Also, the fast DCPs, I'm assuming it gets fast. Yeah, it does. It gets fast DCP. So, even if you get quote unquote perma fires, his DCP will be back up in 40 seconds, which is faster than the entire duration of a fire in the first place. And we all know how fire RNG goes. You're never going to get, once you get a fire and he DCPs it, you're never going to get another one on him. So,
and it'll almost for sure have a 60 millimeter deck, so you can only pen his superstructure.
Only pen the superstructure.
Like, if you have even the slightest amount of hands in this thing, it's like essentially going to be like impossible to die. Like
the amount of HP that it has just walking at you is going to be very difficult to hold your ground against, much less kill. So yeah, again, if they know how to play battleships, without going flat broadside to an enemy Satsuma or Ushakov, then it's gonna be quite the target to focus down. You'll need to use the quick commands, focus enemy target a lot, I think, when this thing is pushing you. Get your team's attention.
Before we move on to the Q&A section, John, since you are a heavy light cruiser enjoyer, are you looking forward to the Japanese light cruisers just based on the stats, or?
I'm a little bit torn. Because the light cruisers that I like to play are often like highly maneuverable, and I don't see these new ones being super maneuverable. I think that they're going to be more like Zhao play style. They're going to be kited, and you're not going to necessarily be able to push in them. I like to play light cruisers that are very maneuverable and can kind of move into situations and make something work when it probably shouldn't work. So I'm not 100% sure about these ones. Also, the really long reload means it's going to be more on that alpha spectrum rather than DPM spectrum. So I'd like to have a lot of turrets that are quick firing, so that even if I make a little bit of a mistake in my aim, then you have another salvo ready really quick. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see them in the game, so hopefully I'll be able to play them in the near future and get a better opinion.
Q&A time?
I think we should do the Q&A.
So, as we mentioned in our first episode, you guys can send us questions that you want us to answer, preferably on the YouTube. But if you listen on Spotify or podcast app or something, you can like ping us on Discord or something to get us questions. But we had some good questions asked over the past couple of weeks, and so let's go with the first one. How each class can deal with subs? Like, how does each class deal with subs? How do you fight subs?
So I think we should do this by, of course, class by class basis. And I think we should start off basic and simple with destroyers, right? Obviously, destroyers are meant to be the #1 counter to submarines in real life. That was their ultimate role in real life. That's why they're called destroyers, I believe, because they're meant to destroy submarines. That's what I think their original intention was. They carried, of course, heavy ASW IRL, and they, of course, helped escort convoys into heavily submarine areas. But in World of Warships, on the other hand, I think destroyers actually have one of the hardest roles actually in the game in dealing with submarines. Why do I feel that way? Well, it's because destroyers in World of Warships, actually I'm going to switch the screen. So it's because I think destroyers in World of Warships, the biggest prime issue is your ASW is ship-based. What do we mean by ship-based? It's basically like you click your G key and you have to you have to sail over the submarine, then you click the ASW button, and then you need to assume he's under you for you to actually be doing damage. So therefore you have to by force risk your destroyer to actually end up doing damage, right, Bison?
Yes.
So
and while you're being spotted by him in front of the entire team, and he can shotgun you, like it's really difficult. Like, some ships have it better than others. I think the best destroyer to deal with subs, in my opinion, at tier 10 is Daring, because of the hydro. So basically, the sub can also just dive. Like, if you're in a destroyer without hydro, the sub can just dive to like max depth and like run away from you. But the nice thing about Daring is if you have hydro up, you can get up on top of him, and like you have to actually proxy spot him with your hydro. But Daring also has really good ASW, like it does a lot of damage. But you, like, since the question is how do you deal with them, you kind of have to just wait until he's overextended and no one else can shoot at you, and then you just kind of have to drive on top of him and drop your depth charges. There's really no other way, because if you try to do it like too early when there's a bunch of ships around, you're just gonna die. And he outspots you. Like, they outspot every single destroyer, at least the German one does. So yeah, it kind of sucks. I kind of just avoid them until they're alone.
Yeah, I kind of just avoid them in destroyers. I actually don't go chasing them. And sometimes your team is gonna get really mad at you. That, oh my god, you're not gonna go like overextend and kill yourself to kill the submarine. But you can't, because if you do, you die instantly, and then they get mad at you anyway. So it's better to just stay alive and be patient. Obviously, the submarine can actually just torture you, Because if he outspots you and starts pinging you all the time, he could actually torp you. And it could be a really hard time.
The nice thing about destroyers with dealing with subs is that you're pretty quick for the most DDs, and you have good concealment, so you can kind of just run away. Like, that's basically it. John, do you have your own anti-sub warfare tactics in destroyers?
When I'm in a DD, I'll do exactly as you guys say. You just, again, it's best to find something better to do with your time in the game than deal with the submarine at the start and mid game. But once you reach mid end game and you can you see that he's kind of isolated, or maybe he's like chasing your carrier down or something like that, then you can make a decision and go for him. If he's like really bothering you, so like he's like constantly pinging you or something, and it's obviously an issue, then what I would say is, I know that it's not a great idea to go near islands of submarines, but that's actually where you want to go. If you're out in the open water with a submarine and yourself, and this isn't any ship, you're eventually going to eat a torpedo from him. It's inevitable. You're going to make a mistake. He's going to ping you. You're going to eat a torpedo. If you go near an island, because of how torpedoes curve and stuff, you're going to be able to pretty much block all the torpedoes that would be being sent at you, unless he's like going to come and surface and shotgun you on the island. But again, if you're on an island, you can mitigate most of the ping effects and torpedoes from a submarine. So if you're being constantly harassed, I would say try and find an island and kind of skirt around it a little bit, and find somebody else to shoot at on the enemy team or focus out. Again, bide your time. A dead ship is never what you want to be. You always want to be active in the battle, be alive, and then have an impact later in the game. If you die early, then you're obviously not going to be able to have an impact anymore. So, yeah.
Now, cruisers, which I think are the worst ships at dealing with submarines. I think it sort of depends on what cruiser. There's quite a number of factors. Like, for example, Des Moines. If I'm in a Des Moines and there's a sub in the game and like he's on my side or something, I sort of treat it like a CV in that I know that I can't like sit on an island, because then he can just run up and kill me. So it sort of makes you change your play style. There's other ships that don't even have plain ASW off the top of my head, like Nevsky, Hindenburg, Venezia.
Lemon.
Like I don't even know. I don't know what you do. Those, like, you just hope, thoughts and prayers, run away.
Thoughts and prayers.
Like actually though, but you can't run away, because these cruisers, okay, Nevsky and Venezia can kind of run away because they're fast. Hindenburg and Plymouth are the slowest tier 10 cruisers in the game. They go 33 knots. They get outrun by submarines. So, okay, they have hydro. Okay, they have radar. But let's say you're in Plymouth, minding your own business in smoke, right? It's kind of your playstyle. It's the only thing you can do, because if you're in the open, you're going to get giga smashed. And a submarine comes up, proxy spots you because he can, and then you're like, oh, what do? I can't airstrike him. I can't do anything. You just die. Because you're proxy spotted, battleships are shooting you, cruisers are shooting you, and the submarine's pinging you. You're like, oh. So the only way really to deal with it in like a cruiser without the planes is don't be in an area where there are submarines. So if you look at the map and you're like, oh, there's a submarine there. Yeah, I'm not going there. That's kind of what I do, at least.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like walk away instantly.
No, you're completely correct with that.
Yeah. And sadly, some games you're going to have submarines on both flanks, right? And, well, you can't do it. Well, you can't really do much there, to be honest. You just have to wait for your teammate to actually, like, deal with them. But obviously, there are some cruisers that can deal with them. The ones with actual proper airstrike.
But even then, the cruiser airstrikes are, like, really bad. Like, they're short range, and they don't do very much damage compared to BB ASW. So, like, even then, like, yeah, you have better tools, but it's not a very good fight. And one thing that's really important to mention is the submarine homing torps track different classes differently. Like, basically the range at which the torps stop homing varies from class to class. I believe like destroyers, they track the longest, and then it's cruisers, and then battleships, they lose their tracking much earlier than cruisers and than destroyers. The issue with cruisers is that the homing is still really good, but you're not super small and nimble like a destroyer, so it's actually super difficult to dodge the homing torpedoes. Like sometimes there's just can't really do anything about it.
This is especially true in like heavy cruisers, as we were talking earlier about like Stalingrad, Sevastopol types. They're just so big, and the rudder is very poor, and yet the torpedoes home as if you were a Colbert or a Smolensk or something that has an insane rudder that can. Again, it's gonna be difficult, but you can, wiggle your way past torpedoes if you're in a Colbert or something like that. But if you're in a Stalingrad or something like that, a Sevastopol, Moskva, any of those types, you're gonna need a DCP to stop the homing. Otherwise, you're definitely gonna eat a few.
You have to also be ass in. This goes for pretty much all of them. You have to be ass in. Like you can't be bow in. It's much harder to dodge and kiting away. That's the easiest way. It's kind of hard to explain, like just talking like this, but you kind of like you want to be kiting away, and then you wait until like the last second when the torps are like really close, and then lose their homing, and then you like slightly turn away, so then they sail past you. That's basically how you dodge. But I mean, sometimes it just doesn't work, man.
Doesn't work, man.
It also depends on where the homing is too, right? If they ping your bow and you're kiting away, it could continue homing like almost onto your stern because of the distance. So you have to be like a little bit careful about where they pinged you as well. Sorry, go ahead.
So not the last class, another class I think is the hardest. I mean, I think it's the easiest actually to counter submarines and to deal with submarines. I don't know if you guys agree. Historically, these were the worst, I believe, too. I'd actually end up dealing with subs. Are battleships, but in game, obviously they, I think, are the best submarine counter in World of Warships, right?
For sure, because like I said before, the homing is much worse on BBs. Like if you've ever played subs, I've played a little bit of subs, not very much at all.
Damn.
I know I'm like an expert on them, but like if a battleship is kiting away from you in a sub, it's like almost impossible to hit him because it's so easy for him to just change his angle slightly and the torps sail past because the homing is really bad. Battleships also have, the most HP, so and the best torpedo belts. So, eating a few sub torpedoes is not the end of the world for them, like it would be for a destroyer or a cruiser. And they also have like the best ASW because it's plane based, and at least a number of battleships have quite a lot of damage on their ASW.
So fun fact about Conquer, by the way, it has 3 launches of ASW, which is one of the most for aircraft in the game. And they do extremely high damage. So I think you can actually almost end up one-shotting a submarine just by your ASW alone. So if you ever see a submarine in a Conquer, it's pretty much almost a free kill. Especially if it's like half HP, it's a free kill guaranteed then. You just have to aim it right. And the range is really long, right? So it's cruisers have 8-kilometer ASW. Some battleships like Ohio, for example, I believe they also have 8-kilometer ASW. But ships like, for example, Conquer, I think their ASW goes up to 11 kilometers. So, I mean, if you're behind a rock and you see a submarine spotted by your teammate, please do use ASWs. Because I see a lot of randoms players that don't actually end up using it, and then the submarine lives, and then they start complaining. Please do use it, because it is really effective when you use your battleship ASW, because that's what's actually going to end up killing those submarines.
Yeah, it's nice when a sub is spotted, like enemy sub is spotted, and then you just see 20 ASW planes in the air going at him.
Yeah,
like, I love seeing that. But in terms of like how to like deal with them in a battleship, I guess it's sort of the same as cruisers. You don't have to be as cautious as you would be in a cruiser, but you need to be ass in, kite it away, and wait till the torps kind of get a little bit close, and then just slightly change direction, and they should sail past. And that's basically it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of counterplay really, other than
no. But I mean, for not a lot of counterplay, I think the class with the least counterplay to submarines is definitely carriers. like I'm not a carrier player, so I can't really testify to this. But I don't believe carriers actually have anything in terms of armament, unless the submarine is periscope or surface, that can actually unload damage on the submarine, like underwater.
Yeah, and even then, like the bombs don't really, like, even midway bombs like don't do much damage at all to the sub, especially if it's at like periscope. So yeah, I mean, if the sub is just like, hey, I'm gonna submerge and cross the entire map and go kill the CV, he knows what he's doing, like he pretty much can, and there's not a whole lot you can do in a CV about it.
Which is kind of like ironic, I guess, because CVs have been kind of doing it too to surface ship players for a while. But I did play an Indomitable game the other time, and obviously I had a decent game. But then like there was a point in the game where it just submarine rushed me, and I literally couldn't do anything, because if you don't have like teammates right on top of you to help you with ASW planes, you literally just die.
Yeah,
there's nothing you can do to kill it.
Yeah,
and yeah, that's kind of cringe, to be honest. But I mean, that's kind of your downside, right? Of carriers, that's your kind of downside.
Yeah, I mean, if that's like what Wargaming is going for, I guess fine, whatever. You know, CVs don't need to be handheld anymore than they already are. But, and this goes for everything, I don't like ships being completely helpless against another class. Like, I wanted to say it before, but I forgot. Guden, for example, does not get any ASW. 0 ASW.
Right.
So if a submarine comes after you in a Guden, like, unless he submerges and lets you shoot him, you just can't do anything to him. And I don't think that's good game design. I don't think that's healthy for the game. I think you should be able to counter all types of ships. Like, you can't be the best at countering them, but you need to have like something. You need to have some fighting chance, even if it's really bad. Otherwise, it just feels really lame.
Definitely.
Carriers have secondaries, right?
Secondaries. But the last class, I think we should just briefly talk about it. Submarines versus submarine combat.
I don't know.
I mean, they recently... they didn't really change it, right? But
kind of, like, they gave
the button from the button.
Yeah. So basically, submarine versus submarine combat is gonna like basically evolve into which it is right now. It's you ping the submarine and you torp him, and you hope you hit him. I've seen a lot of submarines dev strike other submarines. It's really easy to do, actually. I think that's honestly the most, like, you yourself can just completely wipe out a submarine instead of like relying on someone else's spotting, right? Submarines have that ability to kill other submarines without relying on their teammates spotting or anything.
Right.
They're the only class that can do it.
Yes.
I think. So
kind of reminds me of like very early day destroyers. It used to be like it'd be very hard to take out an enemy DD without the help of a DD to spot him for you, because we didn't have as much radar in the game. There was only like Des Moines and whatnot. So it kind of reminds me of that.
If you're gonna play subs, like, you know, whatever, it's your prerogative. It would be really nice to have sub players on my team that were like, hey, I'm gonna go kill their sub, instead of like, I'm gonna drop to max depth and sail across the map and chase the CV into the corner or something. Like, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But I almost never see that. So
yeah. All right. So we are actually at quite late in the podcast, but we're gonna answer these questions because they're relatively short questions now. The last three. If you do have any more questions, I guess we can talk about that at the end. But so the next question is, and I'm gonna ask this to you guys. So BB Bigs for CBs, we talked about them last time. Okay. So someone says, I noticed Massachusetts never came up. May I ask why she isn't a good pick for clan battles, since she's generally considered to be a strong ship in randoms and ranked?
Well, I think I like Kevin's input on this, since he's like the BB main, but I think part of it is because Vlad is like just so tanky. Like, the Russian BBs are just so tanky, and the tier 8 CB meta is sort of just like have the BBs ram. Massachusetts is like relatively tanky because of the heals and stuff, but it doesn't have the same armor. So So I guess that would probably be the main thing.
I mean, I think you pretty much got it. I mean, I don't think it's that bad. A lot of the time you can honestly bring almost any BB you want, and I think it would be pretty okay. Depends on the level of the skill level of the player, of course. But at tier 8, the Vladivostok is just so insanely tanky that I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a must pick because it's so hard to kill because the cruisers at this tier are unable to kill. You basically have to torpedo or ram it.
Damn. Unfortunate.
You could ram it in Massachusetts, maybe. Could be OP.
Massa does have a good torpedo belt. I mean, I think it could be okay. Like Kevin said,
I mean, it's workable, right?
Yeah, it's not like you're going to be gimping your team heavily by not running a Massa, or by running a Massa. So yeah, I mean, it's viable. I just don't think it's like the S tier pick necessarily.
So our next question this is actually a pretty good one. I like this one, so I picked it. Actually, Bison picked it. I kind of just dealt with it, and then Bison was like, I want to respond to this, so I'm going to ask him this question. So, why does the guy on the left look like he's a manager at an off-brand Wendy's for 42 years? Thoughts?
Well, Wendy's nuts go on his mouth.
Damn. All right. Damn.
You got the whole squad laughing.
He got him good.
I gotta get cheese. I gotta get cheese for the next one. See if I can bring him out. You can do the question.
All right. So our last and final question is: it's actually just a Bison because I don't have a can. The question is: will there be cats or a Draco?
The answer is yes. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can see him.
What's a Draco, Bison? You want to let us know?
A Draco is my cat.
Okay, so your cat's name is Draco. I actually saw him walk around your camera, by the way, quite a fair amount of times during the podcast.
He does that, yeah.
So we definitely got some cats in this episode 2, featuring John the Ruthless, all right, on the World of Warships experience. But I think we've done quite a fair amount longer. I think we went around half an hour longer than we did last time around. Maybe we can edit it a bit just to be a bit shorter, like 1 hour 30. But that was pretty much episode 2 for the World of Warships experience, featuring me, MalteseKnight, and Bison. And of course, thank you to our special guest, John the Ruthless, and of course, our producer, Kevin. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, John. It was great.
Of course.
You're welcome back anytime. And make sure you guys give us questions so we can answer.
We're going to leave John's links in the description below. Of course, he has a Twitch channel and he has a new YouTube channel. He's uploading once every, I think, 3 weeks because his videos actually take a lot of work to edit because they're like compilations of really good games and they're actually really good videos. Definitely recommend you watch them. Man. No problem, John. I do like his videos though. Definitely his Colbert and Condi ones. I mean, those are the ones you have right now, right? So
yes,
pretty awesome. But if anyone has any questions to leave in the Q&A section for next week, we always try to leave the last half an hour for a Q&A section. The first week we didn't have a Q&A section, that's why the episode was a bit shorter. If you guys have any questions you want to ask us in the comments, or come on not on our stream, come on our Discord, ping us about it. We'll write it down. We'll just send it in our secret podcast channel. Me and Bison, we can talk about it. But yeah, if you have any questions, please do let us know. And of course, please do leave a sub or a like or a follow to me, Bison, or John's channels. We are always greatly appreciative of all the support. But yes, we are going to try to upload an episode next week because we're not really busy next week. We're going to still have to figure out the guests for next week and topics we're going to cover. So no spoilers in that regard because we actually have no idea what we're going to do. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for episode 2. I hope you enjoyed listening. And any final words from you, John, maybe first?
Nope. Just thank you again for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it and love talking with you guys.
Thanks, John. What about you, Bison?
I got nothing. Thanks everybody for listening. Love y'all.
Good done.